Okay, well, I guess the title piece, Scene from the Yiddish Theater, I have an old photo that I found about 7 or 8 years ago. I think I was in Montreal at the time, and I had wanted to paint it then, so I gave it a shot when I was going to Concordia there, and I did it on an unstretched canvas, and I just did some of the figures, and it worked out pretty well. I should unroll it from the closet and look at it again. Then I gave another shot at it this year. I painted it at my apartment rather than, I didn't have the studio at the time. And it worked out how I wanted it, and I did an underdrawing, which was sort of new for me to be structural that way. And after I did that, I wanted to do several other monochromatic paintings with a lot of drawing and a bit of architecture and more perspective and multiple figures. And I was kind of thinking of Max Beckmann and his multi-figured expressionist paintings. And so the other monochromatic ones are from all disparate sources, like there's a Buñuel still and one from a photograph actually of a residential school boat of children going to Mears Island, and they're all different stories. So a lot of these just developed pretty intuitively, but I started to think, I was kind of at Denny's restaurant with my girlfriend talking about how can I make this a consistent thematic grouping, and I started to think of it in terms of a series, and I introduced color with the green monochromatic paintings, which were from about one of my favorite authors, Alfred Yari. And again, they're different sources, but I think they have in common certain narrative threads and some clusters of ideas that work well together. And I also brought into the show a few color pieces that are maybe more reminiscent of some of my past work. And this one here with the Khmer dancers, I had did around the same time, I think a little earlier than the monochromes. But I thought it went pretty well too with what I was trying to achieve with multiple figures in a landscape with a strong narrative thread. And so I decided to group them together as a series for kind of the last 6 months of work. The green, for the monochrome greens, were kind of a reference to Alfred Yari was known to be a big drinker of absinthe, as were a lot of the artists around that time. So I just thought, and he loved green and encoded it into a lot of his plays and poems, like green candle is a symbol of his, and he was known to like green. So I thought that would suit him and also kind of embed this idea of an absinthe haze around him. In Mexico, I was doing an outdoor mural with spray paint with about 5 Mexican friends that are doing graffiti art in Mexico. And we did it in the day, and it was a place where we were allowed to paint. And while we were painting, an older woman came out and said, if you're going to paint here, I would like you to do La Madre. So could you do Virgin of Guadalupe, please? And they said, oh, Eric, you do it. You were drawing her or something in your sketchbook. So I did that in Oaxaca. And this is, I kind of wanted to do it again. Yeah, I wanted to do another Virgin of Guadalupe. I felt like doing it. And this was nice to loosen up after the series and just kind of use big broad strokes. And yeah, some people saw different things in it, but yeah. I also decided to put in some drawings in here, and since this is the second room and this is where I work, I thought we could make it a little more impromptu and just have it look like a workspace. And I'm always drawing, and sometimes I don't get a chance to show the drawings as much. and they end up in my books, and then I'm sometimes reluctant to cut them out of my books, but we had fun just putting up a mishmash of countless hundreds of drawings that I'm always doing that aren't strictly in such a strict thematic. They're just like always drawing, so put that in just so you can see a bit of the process. Well, since I was thinking in more of a thematic way than usual with my show, I really wanted to have a catalog as well to have some of the underpinning of the references and the sort of thematics that are happening with the series. And I always like when you go to a museum, you get to have the background with the artist and the sort of things that are going into it. So I asked some John Luna and Austri Wright if they would write for it, and they did, and I think it forms a really interesting story, both of their writings together as a continuum, and I was blessed to have their understanding, and I thought they really tapped into a lot of the things that I was trying to convey. So, and I think it's nice to just be able to come away from the exhibit, see the references, and see it as kind of a mono, as one work, composed of many different ones.
So, it would be on sale when the show is here, right?
Yeah.
And after that, if somebody wants to buy it, where?
I'll have to figure that out, maybe online or maybe here for the next 2 weeks. I'll have them in the gallery.
I grew up when I was so we were neighbors.
Let's sit down.
So is another set of chords, and so is that removing Mary and just other countries with
Looks really good. I still have 2 pieces of alabaster from that place as well.
Yeah.
Then it does a lot of the dictating. And it's all very emotional. The story is very emotional to me.
Yeah.
I feel very connected with mythology and mysticism.
Yeah.
I love it above everything else.
Stonework? Yeah. Wow. Where did you get the stone from?
I used to look at Vancouver.
She's the director of Ensemble Letter. Yes. Heard it here. Okay, yeah, now I see it right now. Yeah. Cool.
So I'm still looking for him.